it's an honor to be able to go to Gaza and make a difference.
Did you ever fear for your life?
When you oppress people, they'll become rebellious.
There is no difference between a hero or a coward. The only difference is
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the first ever episode of the Muslim Medics Journal, a podcast dedicated to showing the inspiring lives of Muslim doctors and healthcare professionals from all around the world. My name is Yasser.
And I'm Noman. Together, we'll be discussing stories of resilience, perseverance, and the drive to make a difference in medicine while upholding faith and values. We're joined today by our esteemed guest, Dr. Hawari. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Yasser and Noman. Thank you for having me today.
No,
It's a pleasure to have you today.
Jazakallah khair.
Dr. Hawari is a cardiothoracic surgeon. He's a recipient of the prestigious Golden Lung Award, and he's also a practicing NHS doctor. Earlier this year, Dr. Hawari spent time in Gaza as a humanitarian, helping to alleviate the situation. And that will be a topic of conversation today. So let's make a start. Being a UK-based doctor, you'd assume that you live a fairly comfortable life right now. And moving from the UK towards Gaza is a massive environmental change. What drove you, what motivated you to move to Gaza?
Assalamu alaikum. First thing is, yes, I'm a doctor in the UK, but at the same time, I'm a human. I am a Muslim, and I am a person who took an oath to help anybody who is in need of my help. And in Gaza, I am aware that people are in need of doctors, mainly surgeons, who can go and help and support the medical system there and the doctors there, and make a change, make a difference. I know I can make a difference, and therefore I took the decision to go and do that. Second thing, Gaza is part of my country. It has a special peace inside my heart. The people there have been under immense suffering for so many years. They have been in a big prison, not since 1 year or more. It has been for long time since the land has been occupied, and they deserve all help and all support from all of us. So this was the main reason why I wanted to go there.
Absolutely. And you can see that there's so many different motivations, not just being a Palestinian, not just being a doctor who cares for the lives of people, but even as a Muslim who cares for the lives of the innocents. There are so many reasons why you would be pushed towards helping in Gaza. However, as UK students, we've never really been on the ground seeing it in person, and we only see things through a very acute lens. What was your experience like in Gaza? How was it compared to the videos that we may see on social media? Are they similar or?
So we were somehow protected because we were part of a charity mission which was very controlled, and we had special sort of permits to go and be in certain places. But what we saw something different. We saw the people who had to leave their homes and had to live in the grounds of the hospital. We saw the poverty. We saw the lack of any health measures regarding food, sanitation, water, and everything else. We saw the injuries. We saw the injuries of innocent people who had bombardment of their houses, had sort of shrapnels in their bodies, had bullets in their bodies, and we saw people living. We saw people dying. We heard their stories. I had the chance of speaking to paramedics who were evacuating people from under the rubble. I had chances of speaking to doctors who were imprisoned by the Israelis just because of they are doctors trying to help others. I saw the stories and the pictures of fellow doctors and medical students who were killed during the war, trying to help others. So we saw a different aspect of the war, and also I saw hope, I saw resilience, I saw in the eyes of the young kids innocence, and all they wanted is just to be able to live in a peaceful place where they can go back to their own home and go and play their own games that they used to play before it all started. And I saw the need to make a difference and to make a change, and I saw in their eyes something very important to me, and it made it really hugely different, is that when the kids come and hug you, and when they say thank you for being there, thank you for showing us that there's somebody out there caring for us and wanting to be with us, it is something extremely important, something extremely rewarding for me as a person, to know that I can help these people and listen to them and see their stories and talk to them and reassure them. Very little things, but they make a huge difference for these people.
No, and may you be rewarded for that. And even those little things, as you said, just making them feel a bit better, making them smile, those little things. In terms of these stories, do you have any specific inspiring stories, or yourself, you're a cardiothoracic surgeon, but we've seen lots of stories on social media of even medical students who haven't finished their training, they have to adapt. So do you have any kind of inspiring stories or heroic kind of efforts? Yeah.
So the different stories. So I am not a hero. I am, UK based. I work every day. I go back to my home. I sleep in my bed. But the heroes are the people who are there, the people who are working there every single day, the people who are living in the street trying to support their kids. These are the heroes. The hero is a colleague of mine who I met when I went to the hospital in Gaza, who lives in the doctor's office along with his 3 kids and his wife, in an office on the ward, who was on call 24 hours a day, every single day, treating people with chest injuries. So he's a hero in my eyes.
Yes.
And I remember when I was there, he came to me a few days later and he said, Dr. Muhammad, I haven't seen my family for a long time. Can I go tonight and see my family? Can you take over from me, because I'm a chest surgeon, he's a chest surgeon. I said, of course, please do. I was very happy to give him a chance. And to my great surprise, the following day in the morning, 8 a.m., he gives me a ring. He says, I'm back in the hospital. I'm happy to take over. Yeah. So, he had a chance to go. He had a chance to be with his family. He had a chance to run away from everything, But he decided, no, he wants to come back. He wants to come back and help and support. Something in the blood of these people is different to what we see in the other parts of the world.
Subhanallah. Yeah.
And then you have the medical students that I have met there. They are the main task force. They are there. They were helping us in every operation. They were helping us in A&E. They were helping us on the wards. They are wearing their scrubs. They obviously are in dire need of support and help. And when we came, luckily we are groups who keep on going there. So the next group will know what these students are in dire need of. And you will be very surprised what they are asking for. They're not asking for money, they're asking for basic things. Shampoo, soap, they're asking for sanitation for women and so on. They're asking for head lice shampoo for their kids.
Things you wouldn't think about.
Things that that are absolutely normal. You go to the shop and just pick them and you just move on with. But this is exactly what they were asking for. One was asking for a slipper, because he had repaired his slipper more than 40 times. He just needed a slipper. So this is exactly what we are seeing there.
SubhanAllah. It's very profound to think that things that we take for granted here in the UK are so valued even by hospital patients and people in the wards. One thing about the situation that's very clear is that so many people have been killed, so many people have been injured, and so many hospitals have been destroyed. As a result, there are excess patients coming into each hospital that remains and every center that helps these patients. How do you manage the number of people that are coming in?
With all the beds,
the capacity of the hospital, we were using 4 times its normal capacity. Patients were sharing the same bed, especially children. Patients were sleeping on the floor. I was operating, doing patients who were shot in the chest. I was opening their chest, taking part of the lung out, and then putting them on a trolley without a mattress, and sending them back to A&E on the floor because we had no place to put them on the ward. This is exactly what we were doing, but we were trying to save lives by any means, and we were accepting that they are going to struggle. The people who were taking care of them most of the time were their own families, rather than the nurses on the ward and so on, because we had significant lack of nurses. If a nurse goes to her house, probably they will not be able to come back the following day because the roads are blocked by tanks and so on. I went once to intensive care and I found that there was 0 nurses on intensive care. And I was looking, patients were there on their own with their families and so on. And then one of the nurses just came, she just finished her night shift. She was staying in the hospital and she decided to carry on because her colleagues could not come. One nurse taking care of the intensive care. So there are lots of challenges basically there. And A&E is packed up, completely packed up. There are very limited number of staff who can help. They are very dependent on medical delegations, on nursing delegations who are able to go and help and support. They make a huge difference. They lift up a weight, they lift up a very heavy weight from these people. And this is why it is the duty of every single person who is in the ward, who is able to go and break the siege and enter and support. They have to do it. It's a must.
Yeah, so you've alluded to something we were actually thinking of asking you, Doctor, which was, what are your opinions on, we have the question down as Muslim doctors, but did you notice the healthcare professionals, firstly, were they all Muslims, the ones going in?
No, we had multiple delegations from different parts. Some are Muslims, some are not Muslims. There are people who want to make a change. They are the people who can make a change. There are people from Europe. I met people from Indonesia, Malaysia, Canada, States, Germany when I was in there, Sweden, Denmark. These are all people who wanted to come and help and make a difference, make a change. Many doctors from the UK came, many UK surgeons, males and females, entered Gaza, and they spent several weeks in the place and have gone multiple times as well. It's an honor to be able to go to Gaza and make a difference. You feel something different when you enter Gaza. It's something completely different. Initially, there is fear. You are entering a war zone, but the moment you join your group, you build a special bond between yourselves, and there's a sense of peace that comes inside your heart that I can never describe until you are there, until you feel it. And then you will hear the bombing around you. I was hearing like 3 a minute. This is a routine thing.
Wow.
And you will be hearing a quadcopter continuously from the moment you enter Gaza. There's a quadcopter on top of your head, which is taking photos and video surveillance, but also is able to kill because there's a machine gun on it. And we had several people who were shot at, and we were shot at when we were in our accommodation by the quadcopter. But it will not, prevent us from doing our duty towards the people who need us. Our mission is humanitarian. It's a medical mission, and all we need to do is just to help people who need us, who need our skills and need our talents. That's all.
Wow, subhanAllah, that sounds terrifying, to be honest. Not just from the anxiety of having that constant sound in the background, but you mentioned the quadcopters were attacking you, and there have been confirmed stories, not just from Al Jazeera, from even BBC News, reporting that Israelis will target hospitals and they will snipe into hospitals, and their drones will attack hospitals. And we saw what happened, how many hospitals got destroyed, the majority, Al Shifa. Did you ever fear for your life, Doctor?
To be honest with you, I think the first few moments when you start planning your journey, you have a sense of fear. We are all humans. I decided to break the fear by speaking to people, to saying, I am going. I am going to go. I am going to do this. Mainly to break the fear factor inside me and to force myself. I've told everybody I'm going to go. I'm going to go. And the moment you reach there, it's different. The moment you reach there, the people from Gaza will, the first thing they will come to you and say, Tiglagesh. Tiglagesh means don't worry. Okay? If you hear the sound of the rocket, you are not the target. So you chill out, basically.
Wow.
They will tell you, open the windows and open the doors when you sleep. We slept on the floor, obviously, because they don't want the glass to shatter and cause injuries.
Oh.
So you know how to deal with it once you are there, and you survive like everybody else. They were giving us, we were treated like kings, They were giving us 1 liter of clean water a day, and we had a little bit of salty water to wash and make wudu and so on. To take a bath, you feel that you are betraying the whole people there, because it's very, very difficult. But sometimes you use the salty water just to quickly clean yourself. You have to adapt, you have to change, and you have to build trust in the people who are around you. And this is what we did. I lived in a room, small room, very tiny room, 5 people living side to side, sleeping on a tiny mattress, and we said we are there for each other. And this is what we did.
SubhanAllah. In those conditions, being treated as king.
You
1 liter of water a day.
You feel you are treated like king because you have more right than others. You feel you're treated like king because you are sleeping in a room on a mattress. I know my colleague who's working with me from Gaza sleeping in a tent on the floor. So you are a king.
SubhanAllah. It's very profound to hear all that. And one thing you really said about, being a hero and taking action, it really resonates with the quote that I heard, which says that there is no difference between a hero or a coward. The only difference is the action that they take. Deep down inside, they feel exactly the same. And we've heard so many heroic stories from the medical students who work in Gaza and the doctors. As medical students in the UK, it's difficult for us to directly contribute in Gaza, and it's very frustrating to be here seeing everything happen and pan out on social media. What would you advise to a medical student who wants to help but can't be there directly in Gaza?
So you're already helping. You're already helping by speaking about the situation there, by raising awareness, by talking about the medical students there and their journeys. Where I had the same feeling, when the war started, and even much before that. And what I have been doing is trying to raise awareness. I've been in city centers talking about Gaza and the situation. I've been in several universities now talking about the situation. I've been to the Royal Society of Medicine raising a conference and awareness. I've been to multiple charity dinners raising funds for the situation in Gaza to support medical missions, medications, and a new scheme which we launched in our charity called Gaza Educate Medics, where we are supporting 2,200 medical students to finish their medical education. We established an online platform university for 2 universities in Gaza. Alhamdulillah, 2,200 enrolled. We have more than 790 international faculty from all over the world who are teaching these students on a regular basis. We're supporting their local faculty because there's no income. We're supporting them in order to establish the resilience. There are things you can do. If you want to find a way, there is a way. It's not only just going to the place and treating. It's not only going to the place and helping the poor and helping the needed. You really can do it by spreading the word, by doing things related to fundraising, mentoring medical students, teaching medical students if you want to help your fellow students there. And there are lots of charities here who are supporting the people on the ground with food parcels, water and so on. When the Israelis allow these charities to get the lorries in, they are blocking them at the moment, and I've seen thousands of lorries who are parked outside the border in Gaza, and they have not been allowed to enter, and most of the food has been destroyed because of the heat and so on. So there are ways where you guys can do it.
Would you say, not just in the UK, all around the world, there have been protests going on?
Yeah.
For example, in the UK, since I think every month we have, at the start of the month, protests, and you're seeing hundreds of thousands of people protesting. Do these videos reach the Palestinian people? Does it make a difference? Does it improve their morale?
It does improve the morale, definitely. And it's a great movement. It's a great movement seeing people are breaking their own siege the locks that are around them that are preventing them from speaking up and standing beside the person who needs them. For a long time, people in the UK and other parts of the world have been unable to speak. They're afraid of speaking up.
Yes.
And now things are changing. The younger generation, it's you who are making the difference. Us, the older generations, most of us have lived under fear of being prosecuted and being attacked or imprisoned or something like this if they're going to speak up, or losing their job. You guys are the generation of freedom, where you are able to speak up. You understand what's happening. You are learning. You are very hungry to learn more. You are very hungry to make a difference and make a change. And this is what I admire about what is happening in the world at the moment.
I feel like with all of that, we still feel like we should be doing more. So, as we say at the end of the episode, inshallah, we'll have some links to some good resources if you want to learn more about the history and what we can do to help with some of the things Dr. Hawari was alluding to.
So obviously, public opinion is changing regarding Gaza and Palestine, and that is all due to little efforts by many people across the world. Every little action does have an effect, and every voice is heard nowadays through social media. Were you surprised by how long it took for the UK government to accept the ICC warrant arrests for Netanyahu?
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all about the governments, because what they have been looking at for a long time is supporting money, supporting financial positions, supporting political gains, rather than standing beside what is right. If they feel that they are going to lose a seat in a parliamentary area, they will not stand beside the oppressed. This is what they have been doing for a long time, and I completely lost hope in a UK government or in any other government. I was extremely happy when governments in South Africa, in parts of Europe, in parts of South America, who decided to make a difference. They decided to say enough is enough, and it's time for us to stop the atrocities that are happening against the innocent and poor people. The amount of killing of more than 44,000 people, most of them are women and children, has to make it a change inside the hearts of the governments. I strongly hope that the new government, currently the Labour in the UK, will change. The newer generation in the Labour movement, I hope that they will start to feel what you guys are feeling and understand that they have a duty to stand beside the oppressed everywhere in the world, not for political gains, but for what is right. This is their obligation towards their people. This is their obligation towards their own selves as well. So I have a meeting with some of the Labour government MPs sometime next week to discuss this in deeper details, asking the government to stand up beside what is right and supporting initiatives aimed at helping people in Gaza who are, if we are talking about helping medical system, helping educational system, helping the poor, helping feeding, helping water, these are humanitarian things. We're not asking for anything more than that. We're asking them for what is right, and we're asking for the war to stop. We're asking to cease fire immediately and to put pressure by pulling out their support of the Israeli government, by pulling out their support to the industry which is supporting the war, and all these manufacturing companies who are in the UK at the moment, who are supplying Israel with continuous weapons to attack the people there. Something has to change, and I think this is the time to do it.
Yeah. No, I think change is, inshallah, on the horizon. At the time of recording this, we saw major change happening in Syria yesterday, actually.
Yes, yeah.
And it shows that when when victory, when Nasr from Allah, it'll come swiftly. It came very fast with Syria, and within the span.
Within 12 days, and the beautiful thing about it is that this was a peaceful rebellion where the oppressors just moved away. They ran out, and none of the minorities or the religious groups or Christians or those who were supporting, for example, the Syrian president, were attacked.
Yes.
They were all told that, don't worry, there will be a system, a governing system that will help, that will rule, and there will be laws that will be followed. And they asked everyone to go back to their work and do their duty towards their country. You have to allow the people to control their own place, their own country.
Yes.
You cannot oppress people. You oppress people, they'll become rebellious.
Yes.
And this is what happens in every part of the world.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah, it's great to see what's happened in Syria. The freedom and the liberation of the people of Syria from the Assad regime is amazing to see.
And you see the people flooding into Syria now. You're seeing scenes at the borders, at Turkey, Lebanon.
They want to go back. This was why my question to the kids in Gaza, what do you want to happen? They said, we want to go back to our home. They want the war to stop and to go back to their home. They don't want the life in Europe. They want to go back to their home.
And it's crazy, the media narrative that portrays these immigrants coming from these war-torn countries, from Syria, they see them as invading their countries, when in fact everyone wants to go back. We just need that.
Our countries are beautiful, and this is why throughout history everybody was invading our countries. Everybody wanted the peace of our countries. Our countries are beautiful, and our people want to go back just to their countries.
And do you ever think, inshallah ya Rabb, we hope in our lifetime, but do you see perhaps in our lifetime we could see a similar liberation in Palestine?
Inshallah, there will be a liberation in Palestine.
Inshallah.
We've been promised.
We've
been promised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we are strong believers.
Yes.
Inshallah, it will happen, and I pray to Allah that it will happen during my lifetime so that I can see it.
Ameen, Allahumma ameen, we hope.
Ameen.
And relating to the situation in Syria, in regards to immigrants, a lot of populations, they see them negatively, and they wish for these immigrants to go back at the cost of their lives, and it really dehumanizes these people. And that topic of dehumanization is specifically important to the Palestinians, because as this oppression and destruction continues, as it goes forth, a lot of people may tend their focus away from what's actually going on in Gaza, and the fact that it's gone on for so many years doesn't make it any better today. How do we humanize the Palestinian cause for the regular people of the UK?
So I think throughout the years the Israelis learned how to play the psychology game, and how to make Palestinians feel that they are completely worthless, and that they are nothing, and that people don't care about them, countries don't care about them. I remember, so for you as a human being, a Palestinian living in the area, not Gaza, just in the West Bank or Jerusalem, every 12 to 14 miles there's a checkpoint where you have to stop for hours, and then you have to, for example, come out of your car, or you have to go through a very long queue. You have to feel the humiliation. You have to be shouted at. You have to be controlled by somebody like 18, 20, 21-year-old soldier who just wants you they want to make sure that you are nothing. And they want you to be only concentrating on how you are going to go to your work and come out of your work, and not think about anything else, about progress, about moving your country forward, about industry, about progression of medicine or education. All they want you to feel is fear, the fear factor. And they have been very successful in this, unfortunately, and they have spread this even further in European countries and in the States and so on, by preventing people from speaking about the atrocities that they are doing against the Palestinians, using multiple terms to protect themselves and put this within laws. When you are only speaking about atrocities, it's okay to speak about an atrocity that is happening, for example, in Ukraine, but it's not okay to speak about an atrocity that is happening in Palestine. So it's very awkward. But to humanize the people in Palestine, again, you have to support them. You have to empower them by showing that the world is standing beside them. When I am able, as a human being, as a doctor, to enter Gaza and break the siege with my colleagues from all over the world, stand beside the people there, do our job, MPs can do it. People who are more powerful than me can do it. They are also human. They have the power just to go through the border and do something, stand beside the people. This is all we need to do. Make the story louder. Let the people in the world hear the voices of the kids and the people in Gaza. Speak about them. This is very important.
Jazakallah khair, Doctor, and we'll continue to go through your experiences and things that we can do in the next segment, inshallah.
Inshallah. Jazakallah.
So being a Palestinian, this conflict, this occupation is obviously very personal to you, and you've also had a medical education based in Palestine. So could you tell us a bit more about your childhood and your upbringing in Palestine and how it was?
Obviously, my childhood was through the intifadas. We call it the intifada, the uprising against occupation, and there were multiple intifadas over the years. And during that period, I was still in my primary education, and I remember there were times where we had real lockdown, and they were preventing us from walking even in the streets, curfews basically. And this went on for many months. But what I remember from that period of childhood is the resilience of the people, and how much they were keen on their kids to be educated. So there were periods where lots of youngsters, men and so on, will come through very short breaks. They will come into the homes, and they will offer to cultivate the gardens and so on, give us seeds so that we can be productive for our own products and so on. And from each household there will be one person who will say, I'm going to be teaching maths, I'm going to be teaching science, I'm going to be teaching Arabic, I'm going to teach Islam and so on. And they were houses in the neighborhood where we, the kids, will be running between the houses so that we can go to our class. And in that class, in that house, there will be like 10 of us learning for a few hours. And this is how we went through our education during that period. So it has left me with great memories and so many friends. And the same continued when we went through my medical education. My medical education, we had no medical school. 1994, our late president Yasser Arafat decided to say we are going to have a medical school. And he set up a medical school despite there was no recognition from anybody in all the world. And to set up a medical school, it's not just opening a garage basically. It is literally having all the regulations, approvals and so on, because these are the people who are going to be treating patients all over the world, and not just in your own country. So in 1994, he appointed a professor who was actually a cardiothoracic surgeon, Nail Shabi. May Allah bless him. He passed away recently. But Nail was very inspiring. And Nail taught me a lot. Taught me that it is important for a person to believe in the people who are going to work with him to achieve the goals.
Yes.
So when he was interviewing people for the medical school, he would say to somebody who is brilliant in his A levels, we call it tawjih there, and who had high scores, the highest scores, he will say, what would you do if you don't get medicine today?
Mm-hmm.
And if that person says, I'll go to engineering or I'll do pharmacy and so on, shakes hands with them and goodbye.
Okay.
He wanted people who are able to stand up and fight for their cause. And he's, selected, in my group we were 28 medical students. And we had a classroom which is half of this this current class, where we sat all of us. And every year we used to leave and the second year will come into that class.
Yes.
And there was a gap in between so that we can alternate. And we did this for so many years. And then the occupation again hit us, and it closed the university, and we had to study in another place. We had to join in other rooms, in other places, in other cities. So it was, and many of my colleagues, my medical student fellows, were imprisoned as well, because they were caught studying, for example, in an area in the West Bank where they don't have permit to be there, and they were trying to hide so that they can continue their medical education. It was rough because, as I said before, the Israelis, their aim was to put fear factor inside people so that they can never progress, they can never reach. But we broke that, and we managed to finish, and we managed to continue, we managed to graduate, we managed to get recognition from every part of the world. The last person, the last country to recognize us as medical students was Israel.
Yes.
And when did it happen? It happened when I became a consultant in the UK.
Yes.
Some of my colleagues were consultant in the US, in other parts of the country. We put money from our own pockets, and we took the Israeli government and the Ministry of Higher Education to their own higher court. They forced us to do exams, which is like the USMLE, UKMLE, and so on. And I had to go back and study all the basic sciences again, and all the pediatrics, gynecology, psychology, and so on. And I studied like everybody else, and we all passed the exam.
And this was when you were a consultant?
When I was a consultant in the UK. This was in 2016.
Yes.
And I went back to my homeland, and I sat that exam, and their own higher court gave a decision that they have to recognize every medical student from our university. And it was a great achievement.
Yes.
It was an absolutely great achievement. We understood the rights, because we live in European countries, we live in the States. We understood that humans have rights. They can fight in a judicial system. We understood that we can do the same and fight them through their own systems. Something that my people who are living on the ground in Palestine, they don't know, because they are afraid to use that system. We were slightly different. We learned something different, and we acted on it. So yes, I'm glad we managed. We fought and we got it.
No, that's a great achievement.
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah, and may it be rewarded, all these students that pass.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. And you're talking about the fear factor. As we know, as medical students ourselves, we know the stresses of medical school, but it's hard to imagine on top of the stresses of medical school, the fear factor. You know, Israel, they're known to use fear-mongering as a tactic, but as you're saying, some of your colleagues were getting detained just for not having a permit and being in the wrong part of.
Yeah. They were detained because they were living for example, especially those who are from Gaza Strip.
Yes.
Gaza, they're not allowed to go to the West Bank.
Of course.
Or to go to
completely separate.
They have to have a very, very, very special permit. Some of them, they managed to sneak into cars, into buses, into lorries, so that, and not to get money.
Not to.
Only just to learn and finish their medical degree. As simple as that.
I think that's something we take for granted. Would you
as
agree?
Simple as that.
Definitely.
People, they stay asleep in their homes because they don't want to go to the lecture in the morning.
I think maybe I'm guilty of that once or twice. I don't think I can ever miss a 9 a.m. lecture ever again after hearing that.
And it's, with the Palestinian people, it's a very unique situation you see with them, where they persevere regardless of the situation they're in. What is it about the Palestinians that makes them so resilient to the oppression of the Israelis?
When you are under continuous oppression, when you are under continuous pressure, when you feel that you don't want your kids to face the same situation that you have faced, you will become rebellious in all means. You will become rebellious by trying to seek education and better opportunities in other places, and create better opportunities for your own kids and others on the ground in Palestine. You come rebellious by fighting for your rights. You come rebellious by trying to break the siege by any means, whether it is a medical siege, educational siege, political siege, everything. The Palestinians have been under this for a long, long time. The Palestinians also have a strong bond to their country, very, very strong bond to the earth, to the olive trees that are in Palestine. You know, it's the place is very sacred for us. And as I said, so many people were killed in Palestine. There are lots of martyrs in Palestine.
Yes.
The blood, their blood has been the water of all the trees in Palestine.
Wow.
And there's a big bond between us and the land, the earth, the water, the air that we smell there. I go there, sit under an olive tree, is like me sitting in heaven.
Subhanallah.
The goosebumps I'm feeling. These metaphors, it's very symbolic. And you know, we see even here, like some of the symbols have become attributed to the Palestinian struggle, with the olive trees, with even the watermelon logo we have. But speaking more on the resilience of the Palestinian people, I think it's just to get the magnitude of how resilient these people are. You see stories of, because I think the way it works in maybe Arab countries and in Palestine, where you have whole families living in one block.
Yeah.
And you see these stories on social media of people who have lost not just their close family, their entire extended family too. And this resilience, you know, and when they do lose their family, they don't lose hope straight away. The first things that comes on the first words that they utter are Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel wa inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And their faith is so strong. Do you notice, I don't know if this is something that
I saw this obviously several times when I was working there, but I saw it more in Gaza recently. I was in A&E, and I had 3 patients coming to A&E, all shot, and one of them was a young lad. He's 19, shot in the chest, shot in the abdomen, and his family were with them, including his father.
Mm-hmm.
And I quickly, he was on the floor. There was no mattress, no tray, nothing at all, no beds at all. He was on the floor, and I put a drain in his chest on the floor, but he was bleeding from his abdomen, and he was bleeding very quickly, and he became very pale. We had no blood, we had no fluid, we had nothing in A&E, absolutely nothing in A&E. There was significant lack of resources, and theatres were all full. If this chap was in Nottingham, for example, I would have opened him up in A&E, and I would have tried to control his major blood vessel.
Yeah.
Trying to pack his tummy, trying to pack his chest, do something basically.
Yes.
I was with another A&E doctor from the UK. I was with an orthopedic professor from the States. We were there in A&E. And we decided together that we are not going to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we are going to open this chap, we have nothing. We have absolutely nothing to stop the bleeding. We have nothing to give the chap to allow him to survive.
Yes.
That young boy died between our hands. And his father, I still remember his father, he looked at me and said, "Doctor, is there anything we can do?" And I said, "Wallahi, there's nothing we can do." And I said, "I'm really sorry, brother, you know." And you feel huge guilt that you have skills but you are unable to use them because you don't have the resources. But that man looked at me and said, "Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah." He said, "Alhamdulillah," you know, nothing else. He was thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is knowing his son is dying. I can do nothing. We doctors can do nothing. And he was saying, "Alhamdulillah," and that's it. It just tells you something that these people, they have a special bond with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we all aspire to have one day in our life. We aspire to have by learning more, by having patience.
Yes.
And when you are oppressed, continuously oppressed, I think that bond becomes stronger and stronger. May Allah make it easy for all of them, and may Allah accept this young lad as a martyr in Jannah.
Ameen.
I remember a lovely teacher. She was giving a talk in a conference, and this was just as the war was started and the number of people being killed and the kids and the women. And she said a statement that resonated. She said, "In heaven there's a city currently being built called Gaza." And it is so true. It is so true. So many people went up there.
May Allah accept from all of them the highest ranks of Jannah, accept them as martyrs, as you said. And I think it's almost a form of da'wah as well, I would say. The people who are standing in solidarity with the Palestinians. It's not just the Muslims around the world. We're seeing a lot of non-Muslims, and I think this kind of resilience and this full submission, this tawakkul, reliance on God, as you said, when the worst conditions, they say Alhamdulillah. I think that's also is a beautiful example for perhaps non-Muslims. They'll see, I've spoken to some of the friends on my course, and they would say, if there's a God, why would there be all these wars? But I feel it sets a beautiful example that this life is a test, and Allah tests those that He loves the most.
That's true. That's very, very true. And Allah knows best. There is something that Allah has promised us. It's going to take some time. He's promised, all His people that eventually justice will prevail.
Yes.
And I know from being a Muslim that at the end of this world, every person, every creature will get his or her right. Even the animal will get the right as well.
Yes.
From the person who has been cruel to them or caused them harm. And this gives that sense of happiness and peace within us, I think, because we know that this will happen.
SubhanAllah. And you can see how, as Muslims, because of our faith in Allah, because of our tawakkul, we have faith, we have patience, and we believe that everyone will get their due regards. For non-Muslims, sometimes they see the situation and they lose hope in the situation, or their belief in a God or a creator diminishes. And it's all really based on their moral standing and what they believe is right and wrong. And certain beliefs, certain statements and actions that people take, everyone can see what's right and what is wrong. For example, in Gaza, so many hospitals have been bombed, so many have been destroyed, and the facilities to take care of patients have been absolutely bombarded. What would you say to people who could ever justify bombing a hospital with patients inside of them?
These are inhumane people. These are people who completely lost any kind of mercy within their hearts, who are following, some of them are following orders, but unfortunately many of them think that they are playing a game by attacking, killing. They are maniacs, literally maniacs.
See some of those videos on TikTok that circulate.
When I saw, for example, the bombardment of the medical school in Gaza, the soldiers who bombarded the medical school, I've got the video. They were chanting and they were screaming of joy of their success in destroying a university and a medical school. They were so happy that they were doing something crazy like that. And when they go and attack, they attacked so many hospitals, but the Shifa Hospital was one of the most important centers into the north of Gaza. And they found in the grounds of Shifa Hospital many graves that had hundreds of bodies, including the doctors, nurses. There was a plastic surgeon who was a fellow in London. Him and his mum were killed together, and they were buried in the grounds of a Shifa hospital. They are maniacs. They just adore, unfortunately, killing and adore destruction. But alhamdulillah, the will of the people is something that they will never break. The bond of the people to the land, they will never break. The iman of the people in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will never be able to break. And things will change. Things will definitely change. Like it happened, you said yesterday in Syria, subhanallah. It can happen. It happened in 12 days in Syria. It can happen anytime when Allah has the will When Allah has written that is going to happen, it will happen. Change will happen. I don't want you to forget that we are talking about innocent people. We are not talking about two armies. We are talking about people on the ground who are being injured for simply being Palestinians, living in the area, living in a very big prison. They have no place to go to. And they are the people who are being attacked. The hospitals are people who are being treated. This is an area where people need to be protected by all kinds of laws in the world. And the hospitals, like yesterday, they attacked the Indonesian hospital in north of Gaza. They attacked Kamal Adwan hospital multiple times. They're trying to force the people in the north of Gaza to leave the north of Gaza, make it into a military area, completely evacuated from people. They are doing ethnic cleansing by all means.
By every definition. And then
Absolutely.
What sickened me and what shocked me as well was when Netanyahu went to America and he had the absolute wit to say with minimal civilian casualties. I mean, I think this is one of the most, if not the most, highly recorded on camera
Lies after lies.
genocides.
After lies.
Like you see so many. It's
lies after lies after lies. When they dehumanize people, when they change the value of a soul, and they say they are worthless, and when life is about money and about power, people become blind. And this is what he's trying to send the message to the world. However, the newer generation, I think the social media is playing a huge role in that, because there is more freedom in sending videos all over the world in seconds.
Yes.
It's allowing people to see what is happening on the ground. The brave journalists on the ground, the brave people who are daring to take videos and speak up and send and so on, is allowing us to know what is happening there and allowing us to challenge his narrative. And he is not even trustworthy in his own country. His own people don't trust him. His own people are rebellious against him in the streets, and we've seen this. He is trying to protect himself from being prosecuted in his own country and now in the International Court of Justice, because he is a criminal. He's a war criminal, as simple as that. And time will come, and he will be caught.
And you know, Noman we were talking about this yesterday, me and you, about the value, and you were saying about the dehumanization. If we went anywhere else in the world and perhaps 10 people died, it was a stabbing or something, it's a terrible story and it makes the headlines and everyone's really shocked. But suddenly a tower block with 100 people, all from the same family, being bombed, suddenly that doesn't hold the same weight, and we don't feel as horrified as if it's, you know, a lower number of people. It's as if, you know, the aim of I don't know if it's the way it's being narrated in the media or the fact we've just seen so much killing, so we've been desensitized.
I think the important thing, Yasser, is to see the picture in a more accurate way. When I was in Gaza, we had a young lady in her 20s, and her name was unknown number one. Unknown number one, she was a lady who had their house was destroyed with a rocket, and she had a brain injury, and she was on the ventilator.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought that all her family members were killed. Okay,
Yes.
They were all part of the same block, as you just said. Hundreds of them of the same block were killed, and we thought that she's nobody, and she was called unknown one.
Okay.
And for a few weeks in the hospital, I was doing ward rounds on intensive care, trying to support the nurses and doctors there. And one day, this unknown one, she became very, very unwell, very, very unwell. And we tried everything that we could to keep her alive,
Yes.
but we couldn't. And she passed away. And the nurse who was in with me, he said, "Doctor, do you know today her sister came?" And she gave her name. And her name is Ibtisam. So she passed away, subhanAllah, after her sister came, recognized her, and gave her back her name. So she became an individual, she became somebody with a name, and not 100 people under a rubble that nobody knows about. she became special again. And if you look at the stories of each person of the 100 who are killed under the rubble, each one of them is a human, like me and you, like everybody in this room. Each person has a family, each person has people who love them and take care of them, and they are special. They don't want you to know the story of the people. We have to tell the story of the people. We, the witnesses, have to tell the stories. And this is why so many doctors who have been to Gaza have given statements in the Court of International Justice that has played a role in the warrants against Netanyahu and Gallant. And we will continue to do that because we will stand by what is right.
Yes.
Absolutely. As you said, every single casualty is a human being, and every human being has their own story. They have their own family, aspirations, worries, happy and sad moments. And it's very important to remember that every single person that has been taken by this conflict had their own lives, just like you and me. They were normal human beings, just like us. And it's very inspiring to hear all of these stories that you've experienced in Gaza and the work that you've done. When you were in Gaza, it was facilitated by an organization known as PALMED. Could you let us know a little bit more about the organization?
Yeah, so PALMED is the Palestinian Association of Doctors in Europe, and we have a branch. It's a registered charity within the UK, and we have worked for so many years to support the medical system in Palestine, in Gaza, and in the camps where Palestinians have been displaced, for example, in Lebanon. And the idea is to, we have been helping with supply of medications, opening clinics, opening field clinics, supporting doctors and nurses who are on the ground. And now we are working really, really hard on medical delegations on a regular basis. And we're working hard on the Gaza Educate Medics, which started in July of 2024, supporting 2,200 medical students. Our next step is to concentrate on dental students and on nursing students. Obviously, we are doing a great amount of work to support these initiatives, but we are very, very, very lucky to have so many people who are supporting us and standing by us in Gaza and in all over the world. And I'm proud of being a member of PALMED for everything that they are doing.
Absolutely. And it's every single member that comes to help: aid workers, healthcare workers, doctors, volunteers. Every single one of these volunteers is highly valued in the region, and they do so much good work. Having had your experiences in Gaza as a humanitarian worker, what lessons have you carried from your time in Gaza which carry out into your daily life and work today?
Has it changed you at all,
It
perhaps?
has changed me, yes, yeah. It has changed me that there are so many things happening in the world that we don't see. When you just go to work and you come back to your home and just sit on the TV and watch the stupid things that happen on TV, and forget that there are people there outside suffering, needing help, needing support, it does change you. It makes a huge difference. When I've met all these beautiful kids who are looking for hope, looking for a future, looking for somebody to be there with them. I still remember the beautiful girl who was 8 years of age, who came after me as I was leaving Gaza, and she said, "Don't forget my name." She said, "Don't forget my name." So yeah, I have learned so many lessons.
SubhanAllah.
And leading on to that, what's your what would you say is your favorite thing about the Palestinian people?
My favorite thing about the Palestinian people is that their enthusiasm about education. They are probably the most educated people in the Arab world, because they are so keen on going to universities, schools, and so on. Their resilience. They are very resilient to all the challenges that they've been facing through the tens of years, and their strong belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and their strong bond to the land.
They're definitely role models for us all.
Yeah.
As I said before, I'll never miss a lecture after hearing And to wrap it up, what do you want to ask us, Naman?
All right, I'll ask it.
Get the final question in.
Describe the Palestinian people in 3 words.
Beautiful people, full of kindness and resilient.
Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair, Dr. Hawari, for
Bye-bye.
coming on today, and we took a lot of your time.
Thank you
But
for having me today.
Thank you so much.
Jazakumullah khair.
And thank you everyone for listening to the first ever episode of the Muslim Medics Journal. We hope you enjoyed. Inshallah, we'll have all the links for the PalMed project and other educational guides where you can educate yourself about what's been going on in Palestine through some videos and articles. And I think that's everything from me.
Yeah.
Numan, do you want to add anything?
Anyway.
Free Palestine!
Jazakallah khair everyone
Jazakumullah
for tuning
khair.
in
Thanks so
today.
much.